Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Ariendita Fortuna and my registration number 2005-0250-2008 and I'm from Class A, English Education 2020. Along in this video, I would like to explain and present my mind map about one of the material in Advanced English Grammar, which is the conditional sentence. So without any further ado, let me begin to explain my mind map. So I would like to zoom in the mind map because it is the writing is very small. So let us begin with the first material would be what is a conditional sentence. So the definition of conditional sentence is a type of sentence that states a conditional and the outcome of that condition or situation occurring. Conditional sentences are made up of a dependent clause and an independent clause joined to express state condition. So basically, a conditional sentence consists of one independent clause and one dependent clause, which is explain about the situation, and it is express the condition and there will be a result of the condition, whether it is have a possible to happen or it's not possible to happen. And then as you might can see in this mind map, there are four types of the conditional sentence, and then there also one thing is about the mixed conditional. So there are about two types of conditional that mix together. And here I would like to explain the first type of the conditional sentence, which is the zero conditional. So the zero conditional it is the type 1 of conditional sentences, and the function of the first of the zero conditional is to make statements about the real world and often refers to general truths such as scientific facts. So basically it is possible to happen. And the formula of the zero conditional, as you can see here, there's if clause. If clause is about the condition or the situation that will happen, and then here the main clause is the result of the condition. So the if clause is if plus present simple, or you can say simple present, and then the give result or the main clause would be the present simple. So we see here both the condition and the result are same, present simple. And what we need to remember for the zero conditional is that the first one is the order. The order is not fixed and we need to put a punctuation. So basically the order of the conditional sentence for the type 1 is not permanent. So we can change the order by putting a punctuation such as a comma. And the second is you can replace if with when. So basically with when, and both when and if have identical meanings, so it is okay to use one of these things. And then the third one is that the sentence could be an imperative sentence. So in the first type of the conditional sentence, which is the zero conditional, we can use imperative sentence as the conditional sentence. We can see here the example of it. The first one is, if you hit ice, it melts. As I said before, the function of the zero conditional is to explain about the scientific facts. So it is a fact that if you hit ice, it melts. And then the second example is that when you get home, call me. This is also an imperative sentence or a command that someone, by the time you arrive in home, you have to call this person. I think that's enough for the first type 1 of the conditional sentence, which is the zero conditional. And let's move to the type 2, the first conditional. So the first conditional, it is possible and also very likely that the condition will be fulfilled. It is pretty similar with the first type, the type 1, but there is something that makes the type 2 difference with the type 1. You can see here the function is that it states the result of a possible future event occurring. So basically, what makes different between the type 1 and the type 2 is that type 2 is about future event and the type 1 is about the present event. So we can see the formula here. The if clause or the condition is if plus present simple, same as the first, the type 1. And then the main clause or the given result is will plus infinitive. Infinitive is a base word, or we can say verb 1, such as eat, ate, eaten. So we use eat, and talk, talk, talk. We use talk, and many more. We can see here what we need to remember for this type 2 or the first conditional. The first one is we can also use modal um, in the main clause instead of using the future tense. So instead of using the will, we can change it to can, could, and other example of modals. And the second is you can also use unless instead of if not to explain the negative condition. So if you would like to explain the negative condition, instead of using like if not or having this adding not into the sentences, you can also use unless. So let's see the example of the type 2 or the first conditional. The first one is if we don't leave soon, we'll miss our train. So basically, it is explained about the certain time. By the time by the time people do not leave soon, they will miss the train. And and then the type 2 also explain about the recommendation. If he calls you, you should go. So this person recommend him that if this person calls him that he might need to go right now. And then this is what I mean by the negative condition. Unless you get an invitation, you can come to the party, which means that this if you do not get the invitation, then you couldn't come to the party. So we can use unless instead of putting if not in the if clause. I think we're done with the type 2, the first conditional. And then we move to the type 3 of the conditional sentence, which is called as the second conditional. So the type 3 it is possible, but most likely it's very unlikely that the condition will be fulfilled. So the function is of the type 3 is that this states the result of an unlikely event occurring or an untruth being true or hypothetical. So basically, the type 3 or the second conditional talk about the condition which is very hypothetical to happen. And then we can see the formula here. If clause or the condition, we use if plus simple past. So it is very different from the first two types in the previous explanation. And in the main clause, we use the will plus infinitive. And what we need to remember for type 3 is that it is correct and very common to use if I were instead of if I was. So we always know that was is always connect with I, but in the conditional sentence, it is very common if we use were because it is a conditional sentence. That means that these things is not happening because it is just a hypothetical. So which means that by using the were, if I were, it's the most common one instead of using if I was. And we can see the example here. If I won the lottery, I would buy a mansion. So basically, this person did not won the lottery. So he or she didn't buy a mansion. This is what I mean by a hypothetical condition and hypothetical result, which means that it is unlikely to be fulfilled. And the second one is if I were rich, I would not have to work hard. In fact, this person is not rich, so she or he needs to work hard. I think we can move to the 4 or the type 4 of the conditional sentence, which is the third conditional. So what is the third conditional? The third conditional, it is refers to an impossible condition in the past and its probable result in the past. These sentences are truly hypothetical and unreal because it is now too late for the condition or its result to exist. So basically, both the condition and the result are too late to happen. So it is very, very hypothetical compared to the type 3. So let's see what we need to remember in the type 4. The first one is you can use models instead of would in the main clause. As I explained in the previous explanation, in the previous type 2, type of models could be could and can or many more. We can change would by using other models. And the second one is would never appears in the if clause. So if appears, it must be abbreviating had. So what we need to remember that if there's a things like this, like why I point here, it is not the would. It is not the would, but it is the abbreviation of had, if had. And then for the last thing that we need to remember is that had never appears before have. So if apostrophe D appears, it must be abbreviating would. So by the time we see this kind of thing, it means that it is the abbreviation of would. So we just need to see the example of the third conditional. The first one is, if I had studied harder, I would have passed my exam. As I explained before, it's too late for the condition and the results. So, which means that this person did not study harder, which makes him or her did not pass her or his exam. And the second example is, you could have been on time if you had caught the bus, which means that she or he didn't or come late, so she couldn't caught the bus or she couldn't catch the bus. He couldn't catch the bus. And then the last example is, if you would given me your email, I would have written to you. So which means this person didn't give his or her email to this person, so his or her friend couldn't write something to or give something to his or him. I think that's all for the explanation about the third conditional. And for the last one is the type makes conditional. So basically, the type makes conditional is both the combination of two type of the conditional sentence. So as you can see here, the first one is hypothetical condition in the past and present results. The formula would be, if clause, we use if plus past perfect, and the main clause or the result, we use present conditional or simple present. So which means that we use the combination of the third conditional and the first type of conditional, the fourth type of conditional and the first type of conditional here. As the example, if I studied German in school, my German would be better. So here is the if clause that use past perfect. We can see had here. It is a mark of the past perfect. And then here, my German would be better. It is the result, and it is a present condition, and we use the simple present. And the second example is you would be dead now if you had caught that plane. So here the result is in the front of the sentences, which use the present condition. By seeing this word now, it means that it is now. It is the present conditional, and this is the if clause. We can see they use had in the sentences. And let's see the second type of the mixed conditional. We can see here the present imaginary condition and past imaginary result. So both the present and the past are imaginary or hypothetical. And the formula for the if clause, we use if plus simple past. And for the main clause, we use perfect conditional. And the example would be if I were rich, I would have bought that album, which means that this person did not reach or didn't have much money, so she or he could have bought that album. And then the second example is I would have invited them to lunch if I was a good cook, which means that this person is not a good cook or she or he could not cook better, so they couldn't invite the people to lunch. I think that's all I can explain about the conditional sentence. I already explained about the type 1, type 2, type 3, and 4, as well as the mixed condition, the mixed conditional. And I hope you guys could understand and could take some of the knowledge from what I explained before. And I'm really, really sorry if I have some of the mistakes or my pronunciation is not that really good because I'm still learning. And I wish you guys a very good day. And thank you for watching this video. I wish you, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.